All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. We are here again. That's right. We are here, and it is Mythos Tales Day. At least once a week, I've been playing through and doing these, and I believe this is number five. Number five of what's in the book. So we're gonna do it again. And I've been the first one I failed, and then the last two I passed barely, very barely. Um, so we're doing all right. So we're going to do the next one today, and we're going to see how we do with that, and hopefully we will not go insane and be able to answer all the questions and get a good score. So very excited for that. Um, and it looks like something closed that shouldn't have, but I'm not entirely sure why that happened. Alright, there we go. Okay. So, we're all good. We're all set. We're doing the thing. I want to make sure that everything is good here. Yep, okay. Cool. Sorry, I am multitasking, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so, we're all good. Hair is contained today. So, it was extremely poofy, and I felt like I didn't want it to get in my face, so I can actually read to you effectively. So, real quick before I get started, right there at the top of the screen is our new merch store. If you haven't visited it yet, teespring.com/store/GrayFoxGames. You can go check that out. We have a bunch of Gray Fox merch there. We have James Midgard merchandise. We have Bushido. We have Deception Murder in Hong Kong. We uploaded some Seven Ronin last week. And we've got some more stuff on the way for some of our other games, so you can get some cool t-shirts, stickers, hoodies. They're all on there. Check that out. Also, Mythos Tales, if you don't own a copy already, we do have a Mother's Day sale that ends tonight. So you can go to the website, grayfoxgames.com, find Mythos Tales, and then we have a discount code for Mother's Day that you can use to get the game at a discount. So that's the thing you should do. And sign up for the newsletter while you're there. All right, enough of my rambling. I think it's time that I get this out of the way, and we dive right into this, and we go ahead and we see how we do on today's adventure into the city of Arkham in the early 1900s. So, I got my newspaper for today, which we may or may not need. There hasn't been a whole lot of stuff out of the newspaper so far that's been overtly useful to us. So that's what we're going to change today. All right, so we're in Mythos Tales. The name of this investigation is called the new rule here. So as you get deeper into the book, there are new rules and mechanics that get added in. This is one of those ones that does that. So let's go over what's new in this. So this is called the Dreaming Rule. For the duration of Investigation 4, which is this one, Armitage will supply players with a bottle of Nocturne to access Dream Arkham, located within the Dreamlands. Players may take the potion at any time and as many times as desired by simply declaring that they're taking Nocturne, even immediately upon waking. However, be aware that taking Nocturne too many times may have a debilitating effect. Keep track of how many times you take Nocturne. So we can take Nocturne anytime we want. It will take us to Dream Arkham, but the more times we do it, the more we probably run a risk of having something bad happen to us. So, when players decide that they're ready to enter the Dream Arkham, turn to the first page of the Dream Arkham Dreaming section of this investigation and read the introduction. As with the normal investigation, each location has a reference number on the standard map as well as in the directory, and thus players can move around Dream Arkham discovering clues to unravel the mystery at hand. So Dream Arkham is a dream version of Arkham as it is now. So, location, dream and walking locations that correspond to each other, same location, will count as a single advancement of the time tracker at locations where you drink the Nocturne. In this way, you may read both by advancing the time track one space and reading the encounter in the Walking Arkham, then reading the same location's encounter in Dream Arkham. Movement after that continues as normal. Upon waking, however, unless otherwise instructed, your encounter ends immediately and you must advance the time tracker to read any more encounters. So, the TLDR version of that is if I explore a location and then I take Nocturne and enter the dream world and then you go to that location in the dream world that I'm currently at, it does not cost me a time counter. It doesn't cost me a space. So that's what it's saying there. But anything after, like whether it's in dream or reality, wherever I go after that, I will need to use a time space. Tracking time, each player's travel within both Dream and Waking Arkham must advance one space time tracker. However, some encounters in Dream Arkham will end with a command a command that makes players wake up, often followed with an additional time penalty. Be careful when reaching the end of your allotted time on the tracker. A wake up command in Dream Arkham may push you beyond your allotted time of day 6 afternoon. So, actually, that happens to be right where I needed it to be. All right, so there's our time tracker. So, not only are we possibly going to have bad effects from dreaming, but we could lose more time because of it as well if we're not careful. Tor. Hey, Gendry. Good luck in this. Hope you don't go mad. I hope I don't go mad as well, because this one we're taking Nocturne and going to the Dream World. I have a feeling this is going to be the most difficult of them so far, but also the coolest. So, we'll see. Players visit locations the same way. It's very different from the walking world, though. Things are not always straightforward as they seem. Residents of Arkham have shaped the dreamscape to their liking. Despite this, locations remain fixed, and if a location has no corresponding entry in this investigation book, it is not pertinent to this investigation as per the normal rules. While on Nocturne, players may continue dreaming and visit any number of locations until players decide to wake, which players may do at any time, or when the players are instructed by the encounter to wake. Note, if players are given items in Dream Arkham, they will mysteriously still be in their possession when they awaken. Starts on page 71. So we have the regular ones, and then 71 will start over here, and then these are all the... looks like the purple might be the Dream District here, but it'll tell you here. So that we're just know that it's not just the regular Arkham, it's Dream Arkham as well. So, but anything that we find, any of these cards that we find here that we need, we'll also have in the regular world as well, and vice versa. So that's what we need to know. All right, so last thing of this introduction here, Armitage speculates, I am not sure what surprises may be in store, so I am hesitant to make a prediction on how quickly this matter can be resolved. However, we do not have long before this evil escapes Dream Arkham. You have until day 6 afternoon. I'm relying upon you. All right, so there's our full introduction. We have the rules for Nocturne. Just a quick recap for this encounter only. We can go to the Dream World. We have a bottle of Nocturne. At any point, I can just say, I'm going to Dream Arkham. And we take Nocturne, and we go to the Dream World. And then in the Dream World, we explore the same way as regular world, but things are going to be different there. And there's also a risk of going there too many times, or there may be times where we'll lose extra time because we'll be forced to wake up, or we'll be asleep for too long. Maybe we'll just go into a coma. Who knows? So, this is going to be really cool, I think. So let's figure out if we can do this without going mad. All right. So the name of this investigation is The Slumbering Solace. Investigation 4, Arkham, Massachusetts, September 13th, 1929. All right. You double-check the crumpled note in your hand, perplexed that Armitage should summon you to an unfamiliar address. The note from the professor combined his usual urgency with a distinct lack of detail, and you have been on edge the past week. With a sigh, you lift the large brass knocker on the door of the West Saltonstall home. Your jaw drops in astonishment as the door is pulled open by the celebrated occultist Pascal Fenton. Oh, don't just stand there with your mouth open. We have work to do. As he spins on his heels and heads into the house, you manage to regain your composure and follow him. He leads you into the master bedroom where your eye is immediately drawn to a grand four-poster bed in which lies an elderly woman. 4-poster being those big tall posts at the end of each thing, like a big fancy bed frame. Lets the sentence hang, allowing you a moment to digest the information. A shadow has descended over Dream Arkham, and Sophie was on the verge of uncovering it. Do you understand what I mean when I speak of the Dreamlands? Unsure, you nod your head. You know only a little on the subject. Armitage gestures to a small pile of papers on her nightstand. Her notes indicate that she was following the trail of a powerful 17th century witch by the name of Orlaith Andrews. This foul creature managed to cheat death by existing in the dream reality, but her power has grown exponentially. Now she is in a position to threaten our reality. That is something that neither I nor Pascal will allow. Look through Sophie's notes. We must find out where Orlaith is hiding and undo her evil. You must contact the other principal dream architects and tell them of the danger. I will eventually need their assistance. The list there is complete, but unfortunately dreamers are a secretive bunch. The names by which they are known in the Dreamlands are all we have to go on, apart from the scraps Sophie has already pieced together. Pascal, Sophie, and I will do our best to hold back the tide until our strength is gathered. You will need to find out their real names. Among Miss Libridge's papers, you find a handwritten list that reads the Dream Architects. And then it has a list of names here, which I will write down because we're going to obviously need these notes here in a minute. And these are their names inside the dream world, so we have to figure out what their names are in the real world. There's also a receipt for a safety deposit box at the First Bank of Arkham, as well as a note that reads, "It is essential that I track down the grave of O.A. That way I can be sure to find records of the district she resided in. That will have to be a start. Track down A.H., who has fallen foul of O.A. in the past." He sees your bemused expression. Don't worry, all will become clear. Sophie may be dead in her physical form, but her consciousness will live on until it is time for her to pass over. Should you need to enter Dream Arkham, a dose of Nocturne is the fastest way there. He hands you a small bottle of vicious liquid. Remember, find out where the cankerous Andrews lurks and come back to me so we can finish her. Interesting. Okay. This is a lot to digest. Okay, so let's go back over this and let's see what we can pull out of this first passage here. West Saltonstall, so that would be somewhere, I've got no idea. Oh, down here. So it's down here in this part of the world. I don't know if that matters, but that's where we are. Scale Fenton. Let's see. There's nothing there. Alright, so the witch is... what's her name? Orlaith Andrews. Alright, so that is the witch that we're trying to stop. This foul creature... okay. It's hiding, so we have to find out where she's hiding and undo her evil, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so... now we're going to write down this list of the Dream Architects. And once again, these names that we're writing down are their names in the dream world. So we have to figure, and not only find them in the dream world, but then we have to figure out who they are in real life. And so we're going to have to go back to reality and then probably go visit them in real life as well. So the first one says janitor dash E. Smith. Occultist. PF. Well, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 1,000% sure that's Pascal Fenton because PF, and he's an occultist, so makes it pretty easy. Musician, DR. Historian, Wilma S. Librarian, Henry A. So that's Armitage. And then artist, me. And that is ZL, which is Sophie. And what's her last name again here? Sophie Lima Bean, something like that. Sophie Lillibridge. Artist. Sophie Lillibridge. All right. Okay. So that's the list that we have. And then we also have this receipt for a safety deposit box. So let's write that down. Hire of safety. Deposit box 77. First of August, 1929. cost is $12. Okay, so if it's a safety deposit box, that means we can't just go to the bank and be like, oh, hey, there's a safety deposit box. You need to take a look at it. The entire purpose of safety deposit boxes is that nobody can look at it unless you have a key. So I'm assuming that before we go there, if we go there without a requirement card that represents a key, I imagine we're just going to be wasting time. So we have to find like the key that will let us into the safety deposit box before we go to the bank to check that out. That's the only thing I can think of that makes sense, because otherwise it's not a real safety deposit box. We're not just going to be like, oh yeah, like even police aren't allowed to access it without a key, I believe, especially in these early times. So, all right. All right, so we know that that's Armitage, that's Pascal Fenton. All right, so let's take a look in here. So we have a last name here of E. Smith. So let's take a look here and see if maybe in the real world this lines up here. Smith. There are 2 E. Smiths in this book. One is at N75. And another one is at D87. And then we have a Wilma S. So out of all the S's here that start with a first name of W, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's more than enough for a large margin of error, so we're not going to worry about that one. So okay, so now, this is the historian, Wilma S. There's a historian in our contacts here. Arkham Historical Society. So Dorothy Davis, who works at the Arkham Historical Society, it's possible that she could be the historian, because I think these are their actual real-life occupations, right? Because occultist is actually PF, which is Pascal Fenton, which makes sense. Librarian, which is Henry A., which is Henry Armitage, who's actually a librarian. So I have to assume that the rest of these are accurate. And she also said artist, me, Sophie Lillibridge, and Sophie was an artist. So based off that logic, I think that these are actual things that they do in the real world here. So a historian, like I said, Dorothy Davis is the historian here. That does make some more sense. Let's just go over this September 13th, 1929. Yeah, that's the right one, correct? Yes. Is there anything here? Walking with Fairies, a History. Dorothy Davis. Oh, man. That's the historian. The Arkham Historical Society will be giving a talk next Monday entitled Walking with Fairies, a History, detailing history of fairies and folklore, from European folklore to Cottingley fairies. Blah, 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 blah. That seems all right. Oh, okay. This could actually be useful. So, Commercial House Music Hall holds auditions. Arkham's own Commercial House Music Hall is holding open auditions for any interested parties. Anyone interested in auditioning should arrive at the music hall is between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. So the reason that I think that might be relevant is we have a musician on our list. So that music hall might be a good place to go check out. So Commercial House Music Hall. So that would be, let's find out where that is. I think that would be under culture. The local culture. Local culture. No, it's not. Alright, so where is the music hall? Where would that be? That would be under... Local, no. Lifestyles? Oh, it is under lifestyles. Okay, so commercial house music hall, that's N31. So N31 is the music hall. Okay, so that's something there. Alright, so that's good. So let's see if there's anything else on this newspaper we can get here. International news, no. Gets to the hospital, no. Gala event. Here's dance event. To the editor. Boarding houses, quote unquote, like a bad dream. Wonder what this says. Complaints by residents of Arkham's boarding houses have prompted an investigation of the conditions of these residences. One Arkham citizen who wished to remain anonymous spoke about the witch house in particular. It's like living in a bad dream. Not only are the conditions bad, but I'm convinced people are coming into my room at night. I haven't slept well since I moved in. Many residents are calling for a special session of town hall to address these issues. Traditionally, boarding houses in Arkham have been a haven for travelers and students, but are also the subject of many strange happenings and circumstances. Rumors ranging from cult activity to hauntings are prevalent, but so are other, more tangible issues like pestilence, poor workmanship, and decaying structures. Our source had this to say: "We want to be heard. As a student, the boarding house is an affordable option for me. That doesn't mean I should have to share my room with rats or live in fear of someone being in my room at night." Now, this is interesting, because they mention specifically, the witch house. Guess what we're dealing with? We're dealing with a witch. So, let's check that out. Alright, so let's go to the boarding houses section of our directory here. Witch house. That's at F11. Is prohibition making us drug fiends? No. Now this is interesting. Public announcement. Are you dreaming? Let's see what this has to say. We are getting calls from concerned parents over a drug called Lantern. I spent the better part of the last week investigating this new drug after first speaking with the children who told me only vague stories. I spoke to several professionals, including Garrison at the police department. No such drug exists as far as I'm concerned. It's made up. I know it seems odd, but teenagers do have a vivid sense of imagination, and with the influence of the fantastic things you see at the movies these days, it is just boredom or something like that. This should lay to rest the concerns of the parents. I have one unnamed source who has always given me reliable information. This source states that Lantern is a drug you take while you are dreaming to wake up. Oh ho ho! Now, given that no such drug could possibly exist, I think we can all rest assured this is a rumor fashioned by our teenagers. I would chalk this one up to errant teenagers playing pranks on their parents. Except to the Kenai investigator over here. Update, that's me. We are going to go ahead and write down this. I think that's a clue right there, boy. I tell you what. Alright, so... Lantern. Drug to wake up. Alright. Spoke with Garrison. Alright, so as far as I can tell, that looks like all the useful hints we're going to get out of the newspaper right now. There is a possibility that we'll have to reference that later, and there's also a possibility that we may even have to reference past newspapers at some point in these investigations as well, so we shall see. Okay, so let's also go ahead and while we're looking at it, let's figure out. So it's the first bank of Arkham right there. So I'm going to go ahead and write down the location of the first bank of Arkham, which is D14. So that's where the safety deposit box is. Once again, reiterating that I don't think we should go there until we have some requirement cards, because if it's a safety deposit box, I have to have a key or some kind of way to access it. They won't just let me be like, oh, I'm an investigator, let me look in that safety deposit box. Defeats the entire purpose of a safety deposit box, right? So let's see here. All right, sorry, I'm multitasking here. Okay, so this is where it all goes downhill from here. If you watch my previous streams of this game, I make bad decisions of places where to go. So we're going to try to avoid that. All right, Dream Architects. So we did find something for E. Smith, the janitor. There's 2 E. Smiths in this book, and they're at N75 and D87. So I think those are solid leads. Something we have to consider, though, is that we have the dream world now to consider. So visiting these places in the real world and visiting in the dream world could be 2 very different things that happen. But because of the rule where if we explore a location in the real world and then go to the dream world and explore the same location, it uses the same time slot. So I think if we go to these locations, we go there in the real world and we go there in the dream world to see if there's anything different there. Alright, so we know who the artist is because that's Sophie Lillibridge. Librarian has to be Henry Armitage. Occultist has to be Pascal Fenton. So we need to figure out who the musician is, who the historian is, and who the janitor is. Now, if we go to the dream world, and another lead that we could do is we could go to the dream world, right? And from the dream world, we go to see Sophie because she's still there, right? She's there until she passes over. And she may be able to give us more information about what's going on and maybe give us another lead or help us. So I think that if we go to... So let's get her exact location where her house is, and then let's go there in the dream world and see if she's there in the dream world, and we'll see if that's there. So we're going to go to the letter L. Lillibridge, Z, that's U52. So there's that. I'm also going to use this spare sheet of paper here specifically for tracking the locations that I go to. Alright, so Lillibridge, so that's U52. I think that's where we are now, so I don't know if going there in the real world is going to do anything. So the question is, do we take Nocturne and go there in the dream world? Because we can choose to wake up. But once again, we have to keep track of the number of times we use a Nocturne because it could have debilitating effects. So instead, I think that we should be... I think that we should go there in the real world and see if there's a passage, because since it uses the same time slot, it doesn't matter if I go there in the real world or dream world. Let's go to the real world, see if there's anything. If there's not even a passage for it, we'll go to the dream world, check again, and if we whiff twice, then we whiff twice, and we got bamboozled. So, we're going to U52 is going to be the first one. So let's see what this has to say about that. U52. Alright. A butler answers the door when you call back at the Lillibridge house. I'm sorry, if you're looking for the mistress of the house or Professor Armitage, then I'm afraid they are indisposed at present. He looks at you thoughtfully, then asks you to come through to the study, which is filled with watercolor paintings of the nearby uptown park. I think the professor said you might need this if you were unsure where to go. He hands you a scrap of message and OA. So... Annie H. So let's see if we have a contact by the name of Annie first. No, nothing here quite. So, Annie H. Let's just go to the H's and see how many of the H's have an A in front of them. I'm going to assume it's enough for a large margin of error, just like it was with the other letter. Yeah, there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. Yeah, it's enough. It's enough. So we can't go off just that. We have to figure out who Annie H is. Annie H. Okay, so since we're here, let's go ahead and... I need to move that. So we're going to go ahead and take Nocturne. So we're going to go here for Nocturne 1. We're going to go to the Dream World. We're going to go to the same place in the Dream World because, once again, like I said, we're not going to use another time slot for going to the same place in the Dream World. So let's do that. So we are now asleep in the Dreamlands, and we are going to U52, which should be here. U52. Yep, all right. Nice. Okay. You walk through Uptown, marveling at the transformation that has reshaped this district of Arkham in dreams. The streets are lined with houses 3, sometimes 4 stories tall. Through arched carriageways, courtyards filled with lush greenery and beautiful fountains can be spied, and the air is alive with music and laughter. Amongst the antique buildings, Lillibridge's tall house stands in its own cloistered square. The house is dark and heavy, its wooden shutters fastened tightly closed. You rap on the door, but there is no answer. No one is home, and there is nothing to help your investigation further. Okay, so nothing at that location is going to be helpful. So, all right, so we're currently in the Dream World, so we can try going somewhere from here in the Dream World. Because I think the same thing applies, right? Whether we're in the Dream World and then go somewhere and then wake up, or whether we're in the real world and then go there and then go into the Dream World, it's still one time slot, right? So I think that if we go somewhere and then wake up and investigate it again, it's the same idea. So I think that's what we do, right? So I don't know who Annie H is. That's the thing that's bothering me. So instead, let's go... Maybe we talk with... we go to one of these spaces about the janitor, the E. Smith, which is N75 or D87. And it's kind of a coin toss, honestly. So I'm just going to go ahead and say... Well, if they're down here... D87. I mean, those both are locations up here on the map, so I don't know if like the location is relevant. Although I think D might be closer because maybe they're a janitor somewhere in like Independence Square or something like that. Yeah, I'm just gonna say D87. We're gonna do it while we're in the Dream World, so we're still dreaming. Let's go to D87 and see if we find anything. There is. Erastus Smith's residence in Dream Arkham appears to have been built around a vast oak tree. The house is unlocked, but apart from a few Spartan possessions, there's little here to help with your investigation. So let's write that down to D87. While we're here, we're going to go ahead and wake up and do the same thing in the real world just to see, so we can be efficient with our time slots. D87. All right. You ask a paperboy which house belongs to Erastus Smith, and he points out a small basement apartment. You descend the steps from street level and rap on the door. After a few minutes, an elderly woman answers, and she invites you inside for a drink. You ask if Erastus is home. Oh no, he's most likely at work keeping this roof over our heads. He works over at East Public High School and keeps this place clean and tidy. The staff and children love him. She proudly points to a wall in the hall where certificates from Arkham School Board hang alongside dozens of children's pictures showing fantastical scenes and creatures. They often paint for Erastus in their art classes. He likes pictures that look like dreams, especially the ones with boats in the sea. You finish your drink and thank the old woman before leaving the apartment. Okay, so what can we pull out of this? So there was nothing in the dream world, but in the real world, we learned some things. Okay. And what did we learn? We learned that E is for Erastus Smith. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. And he works at East Public High School. So let's get the location of East Public High School. Let's go say hello to our friends. It's going to be R8. And they said that he likes pictures that look dreamy, especially ones that have boats and seas. So I don't know if that's whatever here. So they said if he's probably at work, then we are going to need to probably go and talk to... probably go to the high school, try and talk to him, I think. So, I mean, it's really the strongest lead that we have right now. So let's check it out. So we're going to go to R8. And we're gonna see if we can talk to this guy. R8. Aha, there is something here. All right. East Public High is a modern building with neatly trimmed lawns and neatly painted fences. Everywhere's quiet now, but it's easy to visualize the paved yards filled with teenagers. You head to the main reception area and are unsurprised to find it empty during the weekend. A small card directs you to the janitor's office down the hall. You find the door with little trouble and knock and wait. A man in neatly pressed janitor's overalls opens the door with a perplexed expression. "Oh, I'm sorry, the school is closed. Was there something I could help you with?" He begins to walk you back towards the exit as you stop him and ask if he's Erastus Smith. "That's me, all right. It appears that you have me at a disadvantage." You apologize and explain to him that you have been searching for him at the behest of Professor Armitage. You tell him of the witch Orlaith Andrews and Armitage's concerns for Dream Arkham. He stops short and his mouth falls open. "I just can't believe it. The professor is correct. She must be stopped before the rot has spread too far to be cleaned out. My friend Morris Moffat told me of a dream in which a crone tried to entice him into her lair. 3 nights she came to him." Need to unfold this. 3 nights she came to him, taking him further each time until I gave him a talisman to hold evil at bay. He never mentioned it again, and alas, I did not investigate further. I will travel to the Dream Realm as soon as I am able and help where I can. You thank Erastus for his time and allow him to return to his duties. Okay, so this was a good trip. This was a good choice. So, let's check this out. So let me help you with. So, I think the most important thing that came out of this is I'm going to use this piece of paper specifically for notes that I think may be relevant to questions later at the end. And so, because they always ask you, like, what was it that was spreading the dream world? And so he said that she must be stopped before the rot has spread too far to be cleaned out. So let's just make a note. The witch is spreading rot around the dream world. In the dream world. Okay. And his friend, he also mentioned Morris Moffat. Okay, so Morris Moffat. All right, let's figure out what this guy is, Mr. Moffat. He might not be a bad person to talk to right now. M. Moffat is going to be at U9. U9. Okay. So that is, that's the most important thing here. So we have a guy that looks like it was looking good. Thanks, Dad. You're to thank for that one. So we have so we got Morris Moffat. So he was visited by this lady, apparently multiple times, trying to get dragged deeper in the dream world, and he was finally given a talisman by Mr. Smith that stopped her from doing that. and he said he never investigated further. So maybe going and talking to him about seeing whether or not she ever came back, or if he could give us any kind of clues to what's going on. We do have a fair amount of time here as far as the amount of places we can go. So I think that we should just keep following this lead as far as it will take us. Because I think in the previous ones, part of my problem was that I would get part way down a lead instead of chasing it all the way. And I'd be like, okay, let's go find something else. And like, I think I just want to follow this lead as far as it'll take me. So let's go talk to this guy at U9. And we are still in reality. We're not going to sleep yet. Oh, and that's actually right here. The clouds scud overhead in the freshening breeze as you arrive on West Pickman Street. You find the apartment building and are stopped by a smart concierge who insists that Mr. Moffat is home but is sleeping. He has left strict instructions not to be disturbed under any circumstances. The concierge confirms that Mr. Moffat suffers from migraines and often needs to take a full day of rest to recover from their effects. Aha! Now, we're going to go ahead and empty the dream world one more time, and we're going to explore the same location, which does not take a time slot. So we're going to mark that, and then we're going to mark that. Okay, cool. So we're going to go to U9 in the dream world and see if we can talk to this fine gentleman who has a concierge. U9. Is it U9 or is it U8? It is U9, which... Yes. All right. So, here we go. Okay. So, the house stands behind an intricate wrought ironwork gate that makes a satisfying creak as you push it open. A beautiful young woman with large, dark brown eyes opens the door. You inquire after the professor. She answers in a strange and melodious accent. Alas, he is not at home. He is on important business in his library, I'm afraid. He did mention there was a lost dreamer in an uptown hotel if you have the time to follow that up. Can I offer you something to quench your thirst before you move on? Reluctantly, you decline and bid her farewell. You wake up. You are no longer... Oh, I'm reading the wrong passage here. Ooh, that's... See, that's my fault, so ignore that. I just read the wrong thing, because that was for U8, but we're at U9, and I thought it was just an error. It's not an error. So ignore that. Ignore that. We figured it out. Let's pretend that didn't happen. I don't even remember what just happened here. I'm drunk. Actually, I'm on Nocturne. I'm in the dream world. Okay, so a street party seems to be in full swing as you turn onto East Pickman Street and make your way to the front door of the ground floor apartment owned by Morris Moffat. A smiling couple apologizes as they jostle you while twirling to the music. You bang on Mr. Moffat's door. A middle-aged man in a patterned cotton shirt greets you warmly and invites you inside away from the noise. Sorry about that. It can get a little crazy here at times. So you've obviously come to ask me something. I can tell from the look in your eye. You ask him what he knows about the witch Orlaith Andrews. His demeanor instantly changes. A cloud seems to cross his face, and he waves you to some large cushions on the floor. Now then, that was a bad fix. 3 times she came for me when I was dreaming. She seemed to have a power over me that I can't explain. Each night she seemed to be able to draw me further from my house here to her lair. Goodness knows why she wanted me, but it felt as though I wasn't in control of my body. I was aware of what was going on, but couldn't move until I suddenly could. And then I ran. The 3rd night, she almost got me, and after that I went to my friend in the East Public High School, Erastus Smith. He's a master dreamer, and he was able to give me this. He holds out a bronze amulet for you to see. It is carved with a stylized 5-pointed star. After that, she hasn't bothered me, he says. You ask Moffat where it was that the witch was trying to take him, and he shrugs with embarrassment. To be honest, I was aware of my surroundings, but it was hard to concentrate with her voice whispering poison directly into my brain. I walked out of my house to the east, passing the park on my right-hand side. I honestly thought I was to be dragged into the witch house, but I went straight by it. I went across an intersection right past Sergei's Eatery, and then down past the Institute on my left. I went over another intersection, past the social parlor and that immigrant church, before ending up on the corner of a block. She mustn't have had the mojo to get me inside that horrible place. I honestly think she had to work up to it. But that's it, and now I've got this word. You think Moffat and Lee. Wow, that's a ride. That's a lot. Okay, so he doesn't remember exactly where he was, but he just gave us the exact directions that he took and brought us to a corner. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to read these directions, and we're going to have to follow it on the map. I'm going to try and figure out the corner that he ended up on. So, let's see here. I walked out of my house to the east, passing the park on my right-hand side. So his house, we're here at U9. So that was right... There's U8. Oh, no, U8 is where we're at, not U9. U8. Alright, so... Said the park... So he said he walked out to the east. And... I was passing the park on my right-hand side. My surroundings, it was hard to avoid spring poison. I walked out of my house to the east. Passing the park on my right-hand side. So he went this way. Park is on his right. So this is Miskatonic Park. So this has to be the park he's talking about. So he was here, park, and so he's walking this direction. So he was going this way. I honestly thought I was to be dragged to the witch house, but I went straight by it. So the witch house is at F11. And F11... Oh, he was going this way. So we said it was going to go right by it. So that means that he went this way, and then he went up, and this is where the witch house is, right here. So he went by the witch house. He went straight past it. Right, because he went east. The only way to get there from here is if he went straight up Garrison Street. I honestly thought it was going to be dragged into the witch house, but I went straight by it. I went across an intersection right past Sergei's Eatery and then down. So I'm going to mark that there. And so Sergei's Eatery, where is that? That's going to be under restaurants, I think. Diners, maybe. No. Local culture, no. Hotels, no. Law firms, local lifestyle, no. Local government, medical facilities, other locations, private companies, residential private, no. Residential student, no. Restaurants. Sergei's restaurant, there we go. That's at L12. So that's where he went by. So L12, said he crossed an intersection, and L12 is right... right here. See, now that doesn't make any sense. So maybe he thought that he was getting here and he went straight. And then... Okay, let's read this again. Dragged into the witch house, but I went straight by it. I went across an intersection right past Sergei's Eatery, then down past the Institute on my left. So the Institute is going to be Miskatonic. Okay, so the Institute is going to be... Let's see. Sorry, we're multitasking here. All hands on deck. Update, that number is 2. Okay. Office nonetheless. That's the library, Lenore. So that's at C23. So that's over here. like this. But that doesn't make any sense. So maybe he just meant going across the street. And then he went across this intersection. So I think that's here. And then he said, I want to cross an intersection right past Sergei's Eatery. And then down past the Institute on my left. I went over another intersection. Past the social parlor and that immigrant church, which looks like it's Christ Church over there. Before ending up on the corner of a block. Okay, so let's look at the churches here. And let's see if there's one that specifically says that it is like an immigrant church. Because that seems to be our best thing right now. Because I think it's just going straight across all the way over here. Is what it looks like. Churches, churches, churches. Yep. Okay, so... So let's look for a church down here in L. Sacred Heart Church is at L9. But that's up there, so that can't be correct. Is there another L? There's L10? No. Abandoned. No. I need something that's in the L's. But these are the only ones that are down here. Oh, L6. St. Stains. That would have been... over here. But I need something, I think, that's down here in this area. Or maybe I went this way. Because it said... on my left. The Institute's on the left, and I think that is... Arkham... maybe it's under... Student, restaurants, stores, clubs, schools, Arkham Public School... Miskatonic University. That's all over in the C. It's all over in the C area. Like this entire block of C. This is all the university. So this is what is crazy to me. Okay. Went straight by. I went across an intersection right past Sergei's Eatery. And then down past the Institute on my left. So Sergei's Eatery is here. The Institute is here. Which means that I think... he had to have gone this way, and that would put him right here, and right here, if we go back to the churches, L8, L9 is Sacred Heart Church, which is right here. And then we also have L6, which is going to be, so there's L9, L6 is here, so it's one of these two churches, but let's see what it says after that. Before ending up on the corner of a block. Oh my good lord. On the corner of a block. I went over another intersection, past the social parlor, and that immigrant church. So, social parlor. So, let's see what L8 is. A parlor. What kind of a building? What kind of business is a parlor? I can't remember. Parlor. It's a social parlor. So that's not this. No, we're looking for something in the L's. We're looking for L8 specifically. Does anybody know what a parlor is? That would really help me out. Like what type of business that is. Like L9 or F... I'm really looking for L8 or F22. That's what I'm looking for. L8 or F22. F22 is tenement apartment, so it's not that. So it's got to be L8. We got to find out what L8 is. If it's even a business. I could just be wrong here. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because if I can find it, then I know that this is the right church. Maybe that's the wrong church. Maybe it is the... Okay, so let's... So what we think is here. So we think we went here, here. We went straight past it. And he would have gone... He would have had to have gone like this. He would have had to have traced it here. If he went past that... Well, yeah, I think he just went straight across. I think he went over this. He went intersection past Sergei's Eatery. Went over another intersection, so that would have been... Because there's no churches down here. A parlor is more formal sitting room in a house. Okay, yeah. See, this one doesn't make sense. So it goes by here. And then... It's that Christchurch Lutheran, so... It says an immigrant church, but none of these are an immigrant church. So we have... Sacred Heart Church, which is at L9, which is here. That's the one that I think that they were talking about. Catholic Church. The only other one is St. Stanislaus Church, which is at L6, which is over here. Yeah, that's going to be the only thing. And then maybe in F? Hold on. So where's... Let's look for some of this F stuff. So F18 is the St. Michael's Catholic Church, but I don't think they went that far up, honestly. So if they didn't go that far up, this is very confusing. I apologize. Sacred Heart Church. It's got to be one of these two. It's got to be Sacred Heart, or it's got to be... Okay, I'm losing my mind with this. But went straight by it. All right, so let's read this again. Let me know if you can make sense of this. I walked out of my house to the east, passing the park on my right-hand side. He is right here at U8, which is where he starts. This is Miskatonic Park. So he went out to the east, which is to the right. And he says he passed the park on his right-hand side. So we know he went this direction first. Then the next passage. I honestly thought I was to be dragged into the witch house, but I went straight by it. Now, the witch house is located... Come here. Where's this stuff? There we go. Okay, so... He said that he possibly could have gone to the witch house, but the witch house is located at F11, which is all the way here. So that means if he thought he was going to go into it but went straight by it, he would have turned on this street and he would have gone here and he would have gone up. Now this is the confusing part, right? So check this out. But I went straight by it. I went across an intersection right past Sergei's Eatery and then down past the Institute on my left. So Sergei's Eatery is down here at L12. Right? We found that out from here. So unless there's something else. But if we go here to the restaurants section, wherever that is. Restaurants. It's not a diner. It's not a local culture. Where did I find that? Sorry. I am doing my best here. This is actually very difficult. It's not hotels, law firms, local government, medical facilities, newspapers, other locations, private companies, residential restaurants. Here it is. So Sergei's restaurant is at L12, like I said, which is down here. So they said that they went straight past it, and then they passed an intersection that was at Sergei's Eatery, which is here. And this is what doesn't make sense. I went across an intersection right past Sergei's Eatery, and then down past the Institute on my left. So maybe I have the wrong place here because the Institute is right here. So right now, saying going past that, this is the Institute. So Sergey's restaurant is down here at L12. So unless they didn't go up there, unless they went like this, and then they went this way, which is what I think happened. Because they're talking about before ending up in the corner of a block. So I went over another intersection, past the social parlor and that immigrant church before ending up on the corner of a block. So that's what's getting me, right? So if we're over here, so let's look here on the Fs and let's see if we can find a church that's in the Fs, that like in this area. So in F we have F15, which is going to be over here somewhere. Actually, it's right here on Lit Street. Oh, well, that's... Oh, maybe it's the graveyard. So there's F15, which is one of the churches. And then we also have F18, which is the Catholic Church. And that one's going to be right here. And those are going to be all the Fs. So we have 2 churches there. And I've also got 2 churches down here in the Ls. But up here, it's next to the old Arkham Graveyard. So maybe that's a thing. So... because there's nothing here about the immigrant church. Is there any denomination of a church that's specifically an immigrant church, like Presbyterian or anything like that? I can't remember. Now, it also said a parlor. Maybe they're referring to a parlor as like a restaurant or something. So if I'm up here in this area, I'm going to look for anything that's in the Fs that could be... So the witch house is at F11, but I'm looking specifically around here, F31, F34, F18. We're looking for those. Before ending up on the corner of a block. Right, okay, so that church, so this is what I think it is. I think it's right here that they're talking about. Because if we go to the... First Arkham's Baptist Church of Arkham, that's F15. That's the one that's right... where is it? F15 is right here, so they'd go past that. So either way, so there's that one, but then there's also the, where is the other one here? There is also, F5, no, not that one. F18, which is the Catholic Church, and that one's over here. So if I go past those, before ending up on a corner block. So either way... If that's the case, it would be either this corner or this corner, I think. One of these 2 corners, and they're both at the corner of the graveyard. So I think... Okay, so from this... So we're... Mofat. So we're going to put this above Mofat. So we think that it is the old Arkham Graveyard, which is at F12. And if it's not there, it could be this intersection here that's next to the graveyard. And then those locations would be F41, F42, 19, and 44. Okay, so I think that's where he ended it up. All right, so I spent a long time trying to figure that out. That's the only direction that I think can make sense here. So, if I'm correct, my thought process, if I'm following the directions correctly, he's out of his house here. He's down here past the park. He goes up. He goes straight past the the witch's house. He says Sergei's Eatery, which is down here at L12. But maybe, even if it is L12, he could go all the way up here. And then if he goes past that, like, he still can end up here from either direction. So I think that's it. I think it's right there or it's right there. It's got to be one of those two. So I think that it's the graveyard, right? So I'm going to go on my detective skills here. We're going to stay in the dream world because that's where the witch is. We're going to go to F12, which is the graveyard, and we're going to see if I am correct or if I whiff here. There's nothing in the dream world on F12. So maybe let's wake up and let's see if investigating it in the real world does anything. So because it doesn't use the time slot, so let me just mark that here. F12. Approaching the old graveyard, you find the young attendant clearing the overgrowth brought on by the heavy rains of late. He frowns at you as you draw near and calls out, "You're not supposed to be poking around the graves." You ask if he knows the name Orlaith Andrews. "Must be a popular subject," he replies. "There was a nice elderly woman here last week asking the same thing. We checked through the records at length, but could find nothing that matched. Sorry. There are a number of burial grounds around town, though." Okay, so... Okay, so that didn't prove anything. So we at least know that she's not buried at the graveyard. So maybe that location's still correct, but it wasn't the graveyard she was trying to get them to come into. So I think for now, instead of wasting more time, I think we go, and our other leads to follow here that we had is we can follow... Alright, so let me just block that off so I know that's for later. Okay, so we can still go to the music hall, see if we can catch the musician, but I think we should go to the witch house, which is what was in the newspaper about people coming in and coming out. It is a place that they went straight past, so it is in this area, so I think if that's a good thing. So we're going to go to the witch house. We're going to go there. That's F11. And we are still in reality, so that's what we're going to do. So let's go to F11. Aha. The old boarding house, known locally as the witch house due to its sordid past, has a smell which immediately puts you off as you knock on the front door. A young man in faded old trousers and a yellowed shirt is sitting in a wooden chair reading a heavy volume on geometry. He nods briefly and returns to his book. Staring at its pages, he says, "You have to knock loudly. Dombrowski probably can't hear you from his rooms." You knock harder. After a few minutes, a burly man in suspenders and a white tank top answers the door. "Can I help you?" You glance over at the young man, but he is immersed in his book and paying you no attention. After a few more questions about his tenants, you come to realize the man might be right. The building might have a history, but the most egregious thing about it is now probably its smell. Maybe there's something more obvious in the witch house of Dreamarkham. You take your leave of Mr. Dombrowski. When you say goodbye, the young man on the porch, he doesn't even look up. So that's a good thing there. It says, in the dream world of the witch house. So, while we're here, let's use Nocturne one more time. So this is number 3. And so it doesn't use a time slot. So we're going to do this again, but we're going to go to F11 in the dream world. And let's see what we find here. All right. The precisely cut paving slabs lead you to a door in a crenellated wall. High above, you hear the many brightly colored heraldic banners flapping and fluttering in the wind. The witch house in Dreamarkham is nothing like its dank real-world counterpart. The high vaulted buildings appear to be a grain store, and the sacks of dusty crops stacked high into the vaulted ceilings. You poke around suspiciously amongst the sacks for a few minutes before giving up, satisfied that there is nothing foul here. But you can't give up, can you? You feel panic and distress, and suddenly you find yourself in your bed in sweat-soaked sheets. You're no longer dreaming and return to the waking world. You may take another dose of Nocturne at any time to continue in Dream Arkham. Additionally, you notice you were sleeping longer than usual. Advance the time tracker 2 additional spaces. Oh my god. So we just lost 2 slots. Okay. Witch House. No. That was brutal. That was really bad. Oh, man. Okay, so we went to Smith. We still have Annie H here. This is who Armitage told us to talk to. And said to ask them about it, but I don't know who Annie H is. There's too many AHs in the book to just take a guess at who it might be. We still have the bank with the safety deposit box. Maybe we could go there, and maybe we can't access in the real world, but maybe the dream world has something that we can do with it. We could check other graveyards, maybe. I mean, we think that the guy ended up somewhere in this area or over here, one of these 2 areas. I don't know. I'm just so unsure of this. I don't know. Let's just go to the bank. So we're back into reality. D14. You wait in line for a few minutes before presenting the receipt for the safety deposit box at the counter. Thank you, says the young teller. Now, if you have your box key ready, I'll ask one of the junior managers to escort you to the vault. Box key? Why, of course, you can't expect a reputable bank like the First to open up a box just to any customer bearing a receipt. Besides, all our safe deposit boxes require 2 keys. The master here at the bank is the one issued to the customer. If you have requirement card 1. Yep. I knew it. I knew it. Bob Saget. All right. So maybe if we go to the bank in the dream world, it'll be a little bit different. But I don't want to lose more time. Whatever. We're taking Nocturne. We're going into the dream world at the bank. And let's see if maybe there's anything that we can do. This is probably a poor choice, but we'll find out. So, D14. The north banks of the Miskatonic and Dream Arkham are heavily wooded, thick ancient trunks threaded with worn trails and dusty pathways. In a small glade, you discover a dozen or so thatched buildings. You are directed to a small cottage bearing the sign of a trader, but the wizened woman there is unable to help you. She looks baffled at your talk of banks and safe deposit boxes. Cool. Well, that sucks. So we have to find a key. So we need card 1. I knew it. I knew that. Maybe we go to the music hall, see if we can find the musician. Why not? Let's make some more poor choices. All right. So we're going to wake up. Let's go there in the dream world. Why not? We're already in the dream world. So let's go to N31. All right. A small crowd has gathered in a forest clearing to hear a troupe of musicians. You stand enchanted for a few minutes before attempting to ask around for information. You're met with frowns and are shushed several times before you abandon a fruitless task and move somewhere else. All right. So now let's go to reality and let's see if reality has anything better for us. So we're at N31. The slate gray sky seems to press down on the town as you arrive outside the Commercial House Music Hall. When you step inside the foyer, you find the atmosphere to be relaxed with strains of different instruments and songs reaching you. A bespectacled receptionist directs you to a large rehearsal room where you find a young black man in a neat suit blasting out toe-tapping jazz on his trumpet. He sees you and cuts off his impressive rendition of Sweet Georgia Brown, looking a little perturbed. You're a little early to hear my audition. I'm still warming up. Could I have 5 more minutes? You reassure the young man that you were not here. Things in Dream Arkham were getting as bad as that. Of course, I'd have acted sooner. Sometimes the needs of the waking world come first, and I might not have been as here, but I do what I can. So he would have directed us to Erastus Smith. I just figured out that the E. Smith out of the thing here, so I kind of skipped a step. Or something that we already figured out. So that's frustrating. Annie H. If I could just figure out who that was. So we have an A. Hall. We have an A. Hardy. We have an A. Hinckley. We have a Hogue. We have a Horman. We have an A. Hunt. We have an A. Hutchinson. Oh my good lord, there's so many. Alright, so we still can't just go off of Annie H. We have to figure out... Once again, there's nothing here about... Let me see. Vincent Sutton, Lenore Robinson, Amelia Sargent, William Coffin, Nicholas Ellenstall, Herbert Corbett, Arlo Hoppin, Dorothy Davis, Pascal Fenton, Sebastian Lyman, Donnie Clark, Ambrose Checkley, Arkham Sanatorium, Speakeasy. Oh, man. Is there anything in here about an Annie H.? Can't imagine. I don't think so. Yeah, there's nothing in here about an Annie H. So I've got no idea who that could be. But she's really important. Okay, so let's find these other people. We have a historian by the name of Wilma S. I guess we could go see Fenton, because I know that he's the occultist. Maybe he can actually help us in this one. Alright, let's go see where this guy is. Again, Pascal Fenton. I think he's right here, and I am correct at L4. Alright, Mr. Fenton, let's have a chat. L4, L4. The door to Pascal Fenton's home is open, but by his Indonesian butler, who is showing out an agitated middle-aged man. Small blackboard. On it, he has written, My master is visiting with a friend and not expected back until late this evening. So maybe if we go to the dream world, maybe he's still here? Maybe? I mean, I don't know. Let's just find out. What's the worst that can happen? It was L4, right? Yeah, it was L4. I don't know why I wrote down 14. L4. Okay, so we're going to do it again. So Dream World, Mr. Fenton, please have something for me. L4. All right. You find the occultist leaning against a cracked tombstone. Oh, you. His greeting is dismissive. Please don't waste my time. The clouds gather, and I fear there will be a storm soon. He gestures to the skies overhead where low-lying black storm clouds blow quickly in from the south. You try to push Pascal for further details about the dream architects. As I'm sure Armitage told you, the dreamers are secretive and don't look kindly on people seeking them out. He shrugs his shoulders resignedly. I suppose that if you were looking for a historian, there are clubs for that kind of thing. He waves you away and continues his focus on the sky. You swear that the concentration he's applying is actually slowing the progress of the clouds. Okay, so we're looking for a historical club. That was the first time he's given us anything useful. So let's see if we can find a club. Let's see here. Eye of Amara Society. Miskatonic Valley Paranormal Society. Miss Wilmina's Social Parlor, which is at L3, which is all the way over here, which is kind of in that area that I was talking about earlier. That has to be it. So we're going to go to L3, and we're going to do it in the dream world. Right? Hold on. Yeah. Miss Wilmina Social Parlor, L3. So there's nothing in the dream world for L3, but since we're gonna go ahead and wake up and go there in real life, so we're not gonna use a time slot. Hold on a second here. There's no way this is Social Parlor. Read Club, Tiliano. There's nothing here. Are you kidding me? Oh my goodness. So I think I just hard whiffed. So that has something to do with this guy earlier. So if that's that, let me just check the churches again and see if there's something near it. Near that. L3. Oh my goodness. Is there another L over here? We have an L9. Well, that's way down there. So if that's a social parlor, we're looking for maybe L6? L6 is St. Stanislaus Church. There's the social parlor, so there's that. So that means they actually ended up over here. They would have gone past this, and they didn't go all the way up. That means they would have ended up right here somewhere on the corner. And L1 is Dorothy Davis with the Historical Society. Oh. So let's go talk to Dorothy Davis. L1. So that's what we came here to do. diminutive figure of Dorothy Davis hurries over to you as you enter Arkham Historical Society building. You tell her you're seeking a local scholar historian with the initials WS. She scurries off for a few minutes before returning with a smile. According to our records, we have 3 people with the initials WS who have paid for memberships in the past. I have Warren Seabury, Winfred Simmons, and Wilma Slocum. So we know it's Wilma because it says Wilma. So that's going to be William Slocum. Wilma Slocum. Warren's address is listed as East Town and is paid up to date. Wilfred hasn't renewed her subscription since 1927. Finally, Wilma appears to have paid for 3 months earlier this year to use our archive for genealogical research. As you're about to leave, a thought occurs and you turn back to Miss Davis about witchcraft in Arkham and any locations that are particularly significant. Well, Hangman's Hill was used as the start of the 18th century to hang suspected witches, including the infamous Goody Fowler. Her restless spirit is still said to wander the hill. She indulged in her particular brand of evil here in the town until an angry mob apprehended and executed her in 1704. Apart from that, there is, of course, the Witch House in French Hill. It's used as a boarding house for students who lack means for better accommodations back in the 18th century. While the town was focused on Goody Fowler, this was the supposed home of another terrible witch. She was called Keziah Mason, and she arrived in Arkham after mysteriously vanishing from the Salem jail. Orlaith Andrews? No, that's not a name I'm familiar with, I'm afraid. Okay. So we found out where this lady is. And they also said Hangman's Hill. So, Hangman's Hill, and that's going to be over here at M2. So that's a place we can investigate. But Miss Slocum, let's find out where she is. So, SL. That's going to be F45. Yeah, so let's go ahead and let's just, like I said, let's chase this lead. Let's go to F45. And let's try and talk to her. So. Alright. F45. Please have something. Okay. Heading up the maze-like streets of French Hill, you arrive at the home of Miss Wilma Slocum. The building is quiet, and the drapes on the windows facing the street are still drawn. You knock at the door, but there is no answer. With a hasty look around, you slip down the narrow alley between buildings and find a cellar window that is ajar. You prowl around the darkened house searching for clues until you arrive at the master bedroom and are startled to find the owner tucked in bed, soundly asleep. Backing out of the room, you accidentally kick an umbrella propped up against the doorframe and send it clattering across the room. Your eyes flick back to the bed, sure that the loud noise must have wakened the sleeper. She mumbles in a dream, "The unvisited aisle is just ahead. We must go there for the key." However, she does not awaken. Oh my goodness. Unvisited aisle. M9. Key. Key. Unvisited aisle. M9. Key. Okay, so since we're here, let's go ahead and not use a time slot. And we're going to go to the dream world and see if we can talk to her in the dream world. So F45. Dream world. Alright. The vast gate of the castle on French Hill instantly reminds you of the Gallic citadel of Carcassonne. You make your way through the busy street, stepping aside every so often to avoid people and horses. Wilma Slocum's house is a circular tower sprouting high into the evening sky. You rap on the front door with the large iron knocker, and the door is opened by a stout woman wearing simple but elegant dress. After hasty introductions, the woman, who turns out to be the historian Wilma Slocum, invites you inside warily. "What brings you to my doorstep?" Her manner is a touch brusque. Her manner is a touch brusque until you tell her that you are here at the behest of Armitage. "Well, why didn't you say so? Come in. Sit down and let's talk properly. What can I do for you?" Every surface of the cozy interior of the tower creaks with the weights of antiquities, and the smell of musty books fills the air. You explain to Miss Slocum that the professor has tasked you with locating the principal dreamers of Arkham and also with finding information about the location of the witch Orlaith Andrews. You go on to tell her about the witch and her intrusions into the waking world. The historian is shocked and leans forward, listening intently to your story. No, that will not do it all. As soon as we are done here, I will head over to meet with him so we can plan our next step. I have no knowledge of other dreamers, I'm afraid, though I would guess the occultist would be Pascal Fenton. She steeples her fingers, thinking. I did hear a tale that you may find helpful. A young girl called Annie almost fell victim to a witch's malign influence in the waking world. She managed to escape the witch, but only because of the fortuitous intervention of a nearby church. In the waking world, she lives on the edge of Independence Square. Speaking of the church, there's also a matter of the lost shepherd at the Franklin Place Hotel to attend to if you have time. You drain your cup and leave her, intent on finding the witch. Wow. All right. We have a lot of information and not a whole lot of time left. So the key is at aisle. So Annie is going to be at... So this has to be Annie H. So that is going to be... So she said she lives on the edge of Independence Square, which is up here. On the edge of Independence Square. So we're looking for something that has a D. So let's go back to the H. And let's see how many of these this AH lives around the D area. Okay, so no, not there. D85. So there is one here that lives right up there. So let's see if anything else matches. So there's a D85 there. Nope, not that one. There's a D60, which is right there, which is a lot closer. And then there's a D53, which is going to be... somewhere down here. There's 52. So where's 53? This doesn't make any sense. So D52 is here. D53 needs to be somewhere in this area. There's 54 up there. Which doesn't make any sense. Oh, D53 is right there. That one is right on it. So I think that's actually it. So let's just double check though. A Horman N51. Nope. 54. Yeah, that's right on the square. So D53 has to be it. So, all right, let's see what else we've got here. Speaking of the church, there's also a matter of the lost shepherd at the Franklin Place Hotel. Franklin Place Hotel. So let's go to hotels. Which is at U1. H, so that's at U1. That's gonna be the Lost Shepherd. Alright, we have some decent leads now. Okay. Got really discouraged earlier, but we actually have a little bit of a direction here. So if the key is at the Isle, we're already in the dream world. So if we go to the unvisited Isle, she said that that's where the key is. So we can go there and get the key, and maybe, hopefully that's the key we need for the deposit box. Then we can go back to the bank and see what's in the deposit box. So I have a feeling we're going to have to know what that is. So we have that. Then we have the Franklin Place for the Lost Hotel. And then we know exactly where Annie is. So I think let's talk to Annie first. And then after that, let's go get the key. So, next one here. We're going to go see Annie. We're going to stay in the dream world and see if there's anything that she has to say in the dream world first, so we don't have to retake any Nocturne. So, we're going to go to D53. Alright. Annie Hoag's beautiful little clapboard cottage looks familiar to you, down to the white picket fence and its flower beds spilling over with roses. You tap gently at the door, but there's no one home, and the house is shut up tight. A gentle fluttering sound near the rear of the house attracts your attention, and making your way around the side of the house, you see small eyes appear in the undergrowth. As you watch, the eyes are joined by more pairs. The tiny Zoog suddenly comes swinging forward from the boughs of the trees. A great mass of them descends upon you, pinning you to the ground. The last thing you remember is the feeling of tiny, needle-like teeth biting you in many places before you awake with a start. You are now in the waking world and are no longer dreaming. You may take another dose of Nocturne at any time to continue drinking. Additionally, you're noticed sleeping longer than usual. Advance 1 extra space on the time tracker. Oh my god. Annie, come on. You're killing me. Alright, so we're in the real world, so let's just go ahead and talk to her here in the real world and see if we can find anything. Annie Hoag's house stands on the edge of Independence Square. A pretty young woman stands from her weeding and spots you looking at the house. You're not here to tease me, are you? She asks. I'm not sure what you mean, you say. She reddens and responds, you mean you don't know? I was taken by a witch. You probably think I'm crazy. You assure her that during your time in Arkham, you've seen far less probable things happen. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but the witch was so powerful there was nothing I could do. I remember I was walking south on Fish Street when I was attacked by her. She hypnotized me and led me across the river. My feet moved their own accord and I couldn't even turn my head. I remember passing a graveyard on my left. I don't often venture into that part of town, but I recognized the back of the Miskatonic Library. The witch made me walk south for about 10 minutes. To my left, the ground rose uphill, and ahead I could make out the edge of a park, but I didn't see it properly until I had turned eastwards. I crossed a final street that began South P something before arriving at a large building on the southwest corner of a block. You nod, smile encouragingly, jotting down notes as she speaks. It sounds like a terrible ordeal. How did you escape? As you ask, trying to keep your tone light and cheerful. A funeral procession of Polish immigrants passed by. They must have been coming from a nearby church. I could hear the church bell ringing loudly close by. Several of the older women in the group made the sign of the warding eye towards the witch, and it made her hiss and recoil. I ran as fast as I could to the nearest policeman I could find, but no one believes me. And that story in the newspaper, I hope Donnie didn't write it, made me out to be an imbecile. Story in the newspaper. Oh, that's the public announcement, Are You Dreaming? It's a drug called Lantern. Stuff like that. Okay, I see. Didn't name her specifically, but that's what it was about. Okay, so we whiffed on we lost another time slot because of the stupid dream world, but now, alright, so that's okay. So, alright, Annie, you did good. So, but with Annie, we're going to need to, alright, so let's go over her directions here. And let's see where they end up. So from where she is, right here, walking south on Fish Street. So Fish Street's right here. So she's walking this way. She was attacked. Hypnotized me, led me across the river. So she came down here. My feet moved their own accord, and I couldn't even turn my head. I remember passing a graveyard on my left. But if they were heading this way, the Arkham graveyard is there, but if that would have mean that they turned down East Church Street. Right? So let's go here and let's check and see. Maybe there's another graveyard over here that I don't know. Cemetery. This is going to be, let me see. Old Wooded Graveyard is at M1. That's all the way over there. Hangman's Hill's at M2. Old Arkham Graveyard's at F12. And Potter's Field's at N2. So, and then Christchurch Cemetery, which is at L17, which is going to be up there. So, or, hold on. L17 would be... Oh, come on. There's L18, there's L19, there's L15, there's... Hold on. L17 should be somewhere right here. And it is... 14, 15... Where's L17? You gotta be kidding me. Alright, so we're just gonna go straight down. There's 5. There's 6, there's 7. So L... It's not in that block. It's not in that block. Not that block. Not that block. Not that block. It's not in this block. It's not in... Oh, there it is. L17. So that would actually make the most sense. So maybe I was right the first time if they ended up in the map. Because if they came straight down, they said that the graveyard would have been on the left, which would have been here. And that would have... But... That doesn't make... I don't think that's completely correct, though. Because that would have meant... That would have here. And they said that she saw the back of the library. And the library is at... I feel like a madman. C23. So the back of the library is there. So I think that they came down this way. They saw the graveyard there. They passed by the library, which is right here. So I think I was right. It was in this area. Okay. So we're in the right area. So let's see where this goes. Rose uphill. The witch made me walk south for about 10 minutes. To my left, the ground rose uphill, and ahead I could make out the edge of a park. Let's see here. I said that... So if they were headed this way, would have rose uphill, and the left would have been... Alright, so let's see if there's another park that I can't find here. Park, and park. Looking for the park. Where on earth is the park? Utilities. I've got to have the parks listed here somewhere, but what are they listed under? Sports, no. It's not residential. Other locations? No. Not under private companies. Local lifestyle? No. Law firms, graveyards, hotels, gas stations? No. Local culture, maybe? No. It's not, so it's not under any of those. So let me just see if I can find this whole thing here. So I'm going to look. Uptown Park is listed as U67. I'm going to try and find Uptown Park here and see where that would be listed under, and that should give me the other parks. Unless it's not listed here and it's listed in the other part, which would be not great. gotta be joking me. Laundry, no. Nope. Okay, so let's just take this. I'm going to say, all right, so they're right there right now. Okay, so Uptown Park. Let's try over here in the U's and see if I find it there. Uptown Laundry. Uptown Park isn't even listed. The parks aren't listed in here at all, it seems. Okay, so that means that I just have to go off of what is listed here. So she said that the park to my left, the ground rose uphill. There would have been a park, but there's no other parks over here. There's just Miskatonic Park and the Uptown Park. So maybe they turned here and that would have put the Uptown Park on the left? So I had to turn eastwards across the... The witching walks off for about 10 minutes. To my left, the ground was uphill, and ahead I could make out the edge of a park, but I didn't see it properly until I had to turn eastwards. So she had to turn east, which means she would have turned this way. Unless they went... Unless they went, like... If this is the back of the Miskatonic, or back of the library, maybe they went like this? Well, there's Hill Street. There's Washington Park. Maybe I went... So if it would have been... It's the problem... Oh my lord. Oh my lord. It's like getting directions from people in real life. Turn my head. Okay. I remember passing a graveyard on my left. I don't often venture into that part of town, but I recognize the Miskatonic Library. So the graveyard's here on the left. Miskatonic Library is right here. So they did come down this way. I know that's correct. The witch made me walk south for about 10 minutes. To my left, the ground rose uphill, so that would have... So the left would have been this direction. Yes. And ahead, I could make out the edge of a park, but I didn't see it properly until I turned eastwards, which would have been that way. Okay. Is there just a park here that I'm not getting? Down in the... Let's go look in the L's. Alright, so I'm just looking for a park. Please tell me there's a park somewhere in here. I am so lost. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think the parks are in this directory at all. Everything else on the map is here, but parks... No, that's too much to ask for. 12. So that would have been there. Yeah, there's an Uptown Park. There's a park there. There's a park. So I think the parks are all going to be listed. So, see, and this is what does not make sense to me. South P. So there's South Parton Street. So there's a South P. So maybe it was this. They came down this way. They saw that, and they went here. I think maybe they crossed over this way? I don't know. Let's just keep reading. Eastwards, I crossed a final street that began with South P before arriving at a large building on the southwest corner of a block. So she said they crossed a final street that began South P. So if they did that, they would have crossed an intersection. The southwest would have been... could be over here. At a large building on the southwest corner of a block. So... a large building on the southwest corner, that would have been... so it could be L1, but I thought we already went to L1. What is L1? Hold on, where are my notes? Where are the notes? Okay, get that out of the way, get this out of the way. Give me my notes. L1. I could have sworn we've gone to L1 already. Was I wrong? We did. We went to L1. What was L1? L1 was... I don't remember what L1 was, but we went there. L1. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What was L1? Oh, duh. L1 is the historical district. Yeah, L1 is the historical society. So it wouldn't have been that, I don't think. So if it would have been the southwest, maybe it was L34. But what is L34? South... or maybe it would have been L6. What is L6 is the question. Okay, one more time. One more time. Oh my goodness. Turn east. I crossed a final street that began South P something before arriving at a large building on the southwest corner of a block. Passed by. I'm just coming from a nearby church. Okay, so it's somewhere in this area. So let's look for the churches again, and let's see if we can figure out what block this is from the churches. So there's L6. Oh, L6 is the Stanislaus Church. So if that's where they would have been coming from... so... yeah. Funeral procession. Polish immigrants passed by. I could hear the church bell ringing loudly close by. Several of the older women in the group made the sign of the warning eye. Okay. Does this thing that he say... do you hear anything else? No, it does not. Okay. Okay, so the church is here. So L6 is the church we're looking for. Which means, and they said that it said that she specifically passed over. I crossed a final street that began South P. Something before arriving, large building southwest corner of a block. So if it's not the church that they went to, then that means... so it could be L34 or L29 or L28, actually. So I think those are our best bets, L28 or L29. And that makes the most sense because earlier our gentleman said that he walked down here past this, past the eatery, and then up. So there's the, and that's across from the Christchurch Cemetery, which is at L17. So that's L28. You know what? I'm going to use my my intuition here, my old noggin. That's served me so well so far, apparently. And I'm going to go ahead and say, out of those, L28 is the largest building. So let's go ahead and let's go to L28 and let's see what happens. L28. You hear snatches of music as you approach Alan Goddard's beautiful home. You greet the thin man, informing him that you're investigating the disappearance of Father Murtaugh. Oh, okay, I guess we missed something. Thank goodness someone is at last taking it seriously. The police seem to have written the case off already, saying he has decided to take a trip, but I know that Jonas wouldn't just up and leave on a whim, so it's out of character. He mentioned the Franklin Place Hotel, but I checked there and hadn't seen him. The last time I saw him was in the church after bell ringing. Ugh. He had asked me to help him as he was taking some of the old Bibles up to the tower storeroom. He often jokingly referred to it as the ascent because stairs are so steep. He was tired, but who isn't these days? Why would a man go from cooking his supper one minute disappearing the next? He had spoken about Nocturne in his last sermon. Perhaps he's upset whoever is bringing it into our town. Take requirement card 2. Okay, so requirement card number 2 is ours. So we'll see if we can use that. Okay, so we stumbled onto something I don't think we were supposed to quite yet, so we said L28. So L28 was the large building they led to here. And said that that Lost Shepherd was at the Franklin Place Hotel. Okay, so let's go ahead and I guess let's go to the Franklin Place Hotel, or I don't know, Christchurch Cemetery. Maybe we investigate the cemetery. Maybe that's where she ended up being buried or something. I don't know. I've only got a few spaces left, so maybe we get the key and we open up this safety deposit box. I still don't know anything. I feel like this is just going to be really, really bad. Let's just go to the Franklin Place Hotel. Well, we're going to enter the dream world first, and then we're going to go there. So we're going to go to sleep. Now we're going to go... So there's L29... And now we're going to go to the Franklin Place Hotel, which is at U1. So we're in the dream world. We're going to U1. All right. The smells of gumbo and molasses blend with the fog to create a sickly aroma distinctive to this part of the town. The Franklin Place Hotel is brightly painted and festooned with silk streamers, incense burners adding to the heady atmosphere. Apologize. Inside, your query is met with a simple nod, and a man in a worn chair by the fire is pointed out to you across the lobby. He is painfully thin and has a worried expression creasing his brow. You head over and introduce yourself. Hello, I'm Father Jonas Murtaugh. Can you help me? I'm lost here and cannot seem to make my way back home again. You reassure the confused man that indeed you can help if he can tell you where he went to sleep. It's all a blur, but I had to sample this drug, this Nocturne. Else, how am I to fight it in my community? I was at the church and I was planning to use the ascent. I'm not sure now that I even made it that far. You tell the priest to rest easy and wait here until you're able to return him to the waking world. You wake up. You're no longer dreaming and return to the waking world. You may take another dose of Nocturne at any time to continue. You notice you're sleeping longer. Advance the time tracker 1 space. Oh my goodness. And that actually is our last spot. So going and talking to that guy... Wow. Wow. kidding, right? So hold on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 5, 8, 15. But then I lost time slots. Yeah. Yep, so I lost a total of 4 time slots over the course of the game, and that cost me. And so now I just have to try and answer these questions with what I've gathered basically no information as far as I'm concerned. So I guess let's do this. I have no supplemental encounters. I feel like I did so poorly on this. Like, I feel like I found out so little, I could probably play this again and still do just as poorly. Okay. 1. Where's the witch Orlaith Andrews? I'm going to go out on a whim, and I'm going to say the Christchurch Cemetery, because that was in the area. 2. What are the names of the 3 architects of Dream other than Sophie, Pascal, and Armitage? I think I did get that one, actually. That would have been Erastus Smith. That was... who are the other guys? Erastus Smith. Dero Rice. And then it was that Wilma Slocum. Alright, so that one I knew. So that's good. Where in Waking Arkham is the Lost Dreamer sleeping? Who is he? Lost Dreamer, I think from what I just gathered, is Father... whatever Father guy. I know who it is, that priest guy. Father guy, and then... where is Lost Dreamer sleeping? At the church? I think, from what I gathered from what he said. What is the significance of the music box? No idea. I didn't even know there was a music box. What is the name of the shepherd in the Unvisited Isle in the Dream Arkham? No idea, because I should have gone there, and then I didn't. How did Annie Hogue escape the witch? It was Polish funeral procession warded her off. Her away. 7. What is stored at the witch house in Dream Arkham? Oh. It was like grain in flour, I believe. 8. What color is the clock in the forum? I've got no idea. What is the name of the mysterious new drug reportedly used by teenagers for which there's no direct evidence even exists? That was Lantern. I knew that one. Alright, well, let's see how awful this is. Answers. In Dream Arkham at this Mansell's boarding house in Lower South Side. That is not correct, right? Okay, so first off, let me find out where that is. So Mansell's boarding house. So let me look at the boarding houses. That was at L7. So that ended up down here. Oh, it's because I was looking the wrong way. It said the southwest corner of the block. I was looking at the intersection, not the block by itself. So if I would have realized that, I actually would have realized L7 was a possibility. Which, actually, wasn't that one of the ones that I wrote down on the... No, it's not. But the church was at L6. Oh, yeah. That's an oversight. That's what we call a big old oversight, folks. That sucks. And that one was worth 5 points, too. 1 point for each full name, first and last. You got correct, and 1 additional point for each that you spoke directly with, for a total of 6 points. I got all of them, so that is 6 points there for naming all of the architects. Where in Waking Arkham is the lost dreamer? Who is he? First Presbyterian minister, Father Jonas Murtaugh, I knew that, who began taking nocturnes, become lost in Dream Arkham. He's asleep in his tower at the church. In more or less words, I used less words. I definitely got that one because I just talked to him on the very last one. So definitely missed that one. Definitely missed that one. The music box, even though we had no idea what that was, it allows sleepers immunity from the dream sendings of the witch. And then the name of the shepherd was Zelekis, if we would have gone there. How did Annie Hogue escape? A funeral procession passed by and saved her. 2 points. We definitely got that one. What is stored at the witch house? Grain. I said grain and flour, so I definitely got that one. That's 1 point. What color is the clock in the full... yeah, missed that one entirely. And then name of that other one was Lantern, which I definitely got, so that's 2 points. Sanity penalties. If you were unlucky enough to meet the witch Andrews at the boarding house, deduct a point, which I didn't. Using Nocturne has a gradual debilitating effect. First dose does not, but each subsequent contributes a cumulative negative 1 point per dose. Therefore, if you took 4 doses of Nocturne, you get a negative 3 penalty. So I took it 5 times, so I'm losing 4 points. Let's see, it's 11, 13, 15, 16, minus 4. Nocturne Abuser. If you knocked a total of 5 times, you ended up, in this case, a full negative 5 penalty to your score. Yeah, so I took Nocturne way too many times. So basically, I should have just... what I should have done was that I should have just stayed in the dream world and explored as much as possible before going back to the real world, I guess. But I went crazy from abusing Nocturne. Everything beyond 11. Every waking travel. Revisits don't count against you. Armitage would have solved this case in 11. So, for what I wrote down, so that would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I visited 15, so I'm going to lose another 4. Jeez, that gives me 7 points. 14 points was what I needed to complete this. I ended up with 16, and then I lost points because of how much Nocturne I used, and then I lost points for how many different places I went to. So, oh, actually, sorry, it's 8 points because I don't count the blank location. Yeah, I screwed up royally. Armitage realizes you're still an amateur. If your score was less than 14 when you play your next case, you may play that case by not counting your first location and your final location at the end of the investigation. Okay, so I'll need to make a note of that for the next time that I play this, but yeah. Wow, yeah, I don't feel good about that one at all. Alright, so here's the solution. The heavy skies seem filled with foreboding as you walk to Sophie Lillibridge's house. Professor Armitage is taking off his hat and coat in the hallway as you're led into the house. Armitage smiles weakly at you, and you sense that he is immeasurably tired. I can tell by the expression on your face that your investigation has concluded. Come into the parlor, and Stanley will fetch us a pot of coffee. I need to rest for a while. Gonna drink coffee, and then he needs to rest for a while. Seems very counterproductive, in my personal, professional opinion. As you sit down, Armitage gently lowers himself onto the seat opposite. So you were able to track the witch to her foul lair at the Sismensdeld boarding house, I presume? I found that delightful young woman, Annie Hogue, most helpful in that regard. Her memories weren't perfect by any means, but with a copy of the city map and a wander around the neighborhood, it quickly became apparent where to look, especially when taking the proximity of the St. Stanislaus Catholic Church into account. Lucky for her that Father Casimir's constituents are superstitious and knew verbal wards that would affect Andrew's influence on her. Stanley arrives and pours you all steaming cups of coffee as the librarian continues. As for the Dreamers, they were easier to track down once I'd visited with dear Nicholas over at the Public Records Office. He put me on the right track, and I was able to spend a few moments with Erastus Smith at East High School. Oh, I didn't even think about going to the Public Records. That was a good call. Then the bartender at the Speakeasy was able to set me in the right path to finding our musician, Dero Rice, after his audition at the Commercial House Music Hall. Finally, I found my old friend Wilma Slocum at her house in Dream Arkham. I honestly had no idea she was a dreamer on par with Fenton and I. You can imagine how happy that has made me. You're probably wondering what transpired after you brought us to the music box of Illerneck. I didn't do that, by the way. Well, we gathered together at Zophie's favorite place under the emerald and gold clock tower, and we played the music out loud using our powers of dreams to project its magic all over the town. As we did so, we could feel the evil weaken and retreat. It will be quite some time before Orlaith Andrews has the wherewithal to even enter that realm again. And so you saw Dream Markham. Incredible, isn't it? At the witch's house, there's no fear. They store grain. Mundane as you please. The vagrant Zlakis is a shepherd and a fantastic musician in his own right, and I and my lovely wife are younger. Now here at the end there are 2 small items that need taken care of, but you'll be glad to know I don't require your services for either. We must begin the arrangements for dear Zophie's funeral, and of course we must help Father Murtagh understand the effects of Nocturne and its possible potential in Dream Arkham so that he doesn't get lost there anymore. So Armitage's path was he went to the advertiser, then he went to Annie's house, and then he went and saw Saltonstall, and then he went to the high school, and went to the speakeasy, and then the music hall, and then Slockham's house, and then the Franklin Place Hotel, and then the First Bank of Arkham, which I don't know. Oh, he must have gotten the key from somewhere. And then Copley Memorial Bell Tower and Visa Island. That must have been what was in the safety deposit box. Was the music box. Oh, and then Unvisited Isle was last. Man. Yep. We well, I didn't do well with this, so that's a bummer. But fear not, because the next time that I play this, we are going to have I'm going to have some help. So, keep an eye out on our social media. We'll be releasing it later today, but we will be posting digital files for Mythos Tales online for you to download and use. It's basically everything but the main book, so you will need somebody to have the main book in order to play, but it's intended to where you could, if you download the files, you could look along and check things with me and kind of help me in real time figure out what's going on. Or if you know somebody who has a copy of Mythos Tales, you can download the digital files, and then you can all get together in a live call, and then somebody could read through the main book, and then everyone else can kind of look through the digital files and like help find like, oh, this person's at this directory, this person's here, you know. So we'll announce on the social media where you can find those later, and then when I do this next week, I'll remind everybody that those are there, and then they can hop on, and then maybe y'all can read along and help me out. And as you can clearly see, I'm not doing so hot this time, so that's the thing that happens. So thank you so much for watching and joining me. I hope you enjoyed it, even though I did pretty poorly. Just quick reminders on a few things. If you enjoy Mythos Tales right now until I think midnight tonight, we have a sale for Mother's Day going on Mythos Tales specifically. If you go to our website, greyfoxgames.com, you'll be able to find that discount code, and you can get a copy of the game sent to you at a discount, which is pretty sweet. While you're there, you can sign up for the newsletter, stay up to date with everything that we got going on as far as like behind the scenes. So we have production updates. We have Tsukiyumi Full Moon Down coming out later this year. We have After the Empire coming out later this year. We have Tortuga 2199 coming out later this year. I have a lot of big stuff going down, so you can stay in the loop with that newsletter, which is really nice. We also give away games and give away some codes and stuff, so it's a good thing to be a part of. It doesn't cost you anything. Just put your email in there, and we'll take care of the rest. Other thing I want to mention, there at the top of the screen, teespring.com/store/greyfoxgames. That is our new merch store. So we have cool merchandise that you can now order and have shipped to you. T-shirts, hoodies, stickers. There's even a pillow on there as well. We got a few different items. So, and it features artwork from our games. So we have Shapings of Midgard. We have Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. We have Seven Ronin. We have Bushido. Those are the ones that are up right now currently. And then I am also designing more things to put up there all the time. So in the coming weeks, we'll have more merch items you can order, and some from different games, as well as maybe some more from the current lines we have up there. But we're just gonna keep uploading stuff. We'll have a bunch of things that you can order, so all kinds of cool stuff. So go check it out. If you see something you like, do us a favor, order it, take a picture of it, post social media, tag us on it. Love to see you wearing our stuff. Yeah, and that's it. So thank you for joining me. I know normally I don't stream on Mondays, but like I said, I've got to change my schedule this week, so I'll be streaming today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So if you come back tomorrow, we'll be doing another tabletop stream or tabletop simulator stream. I am playing once again with Undead Viking, and we will be playing 7 Ronin again, and we'll be round number 2, and so we'll see if he can come back and see if he can beat me at that, or if I can beat him, or we'll see how it goes. It'll be fun. But that's tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central, so you can find that. Keep an eye on social media. We'll announce everything there. And yeah, so we'll be doing that. And then Wednesday, I'm doing Super Hot again at 2 p.m. Central. So you can check all that out on the social media. But yeah, that's our plan. That's what we're doing. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching me play this. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves. And I will be, like I said, be back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central. Come back, hang out with me, and check out all the stuff we have going on. And above everything else, stay safe, have fun. I'll see you guys soon.